Reading with your kids.
Hola, ni hao, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, shalom, mahaba, monimuli wanji, namaste, jumbo, bienvenidos. Hi, my name is Jed Lee, and this is the Reading with Your Kids podcast. We are coming to you from the beautiful neighborhood of Reedville in the southwest corner of Boston, Massachusetts. We are so delighted and so very honored that you join us in our mission to help all families grow closer through reading. Please be sure to tell all of your family and friends about the show. Please be sure to subscribe to the show in the iHeartRadio app, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Stitcher Radio, wherever you find your podcast. We want to let you know that this episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast is brought to you by the Chuckle Wobbles, delightful book by our friend Prue McDonald. Get ready to enter the wonderful and whimsical world of the funny and lovable Chuckle Wobbles from the planet Mirth, where a magical book transports them to planets whose beings have forgotten how to be happy. Their mission? To release happiness within the hearts of those who are a little sad. Join two Chuckle Wobbles, giggle and cackle, in their adventure to the sad planet of Mopus, home of the weary, dreary doldrums, where they get themselves into all sorts of trouble. Journey through the bamboozle woods to the mysterious temple, which holds many secrets, including a riddle that must be solved before happiness can be released within the hearts of the doldrums. Do the Chuckle Wobbles succeed in bringing happiness to the doldrums? Do they return home safely to Mirth? Find out this in the fantasy adventure, The Chuckle Wobbles by Prue McDonald. It is a Reading with Your Kids certified great read. This episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast is brought to you by Hunter's Tall Tales, written by Rosalie Mass-Taylor. A million questions about Hunter's limb difference lead to tall tales, but there's one question that leaves Hunter speechless. Take a journey with Hunter as he faces his first day of school and the endless questions about his prosthetic leg. Will he give an honest answer or make up an outlandish story? A delightful and entertaining children's story about a boy with a disability that will help children understand acceptance, inclusion, and what it's like to be different. Laughter will ensue when Hunter tells his tall tales. A moment of wonder will occur when a child asks a very important question. This is a super fun book. You don't want to miss it. Hunter's Tall Tales, a fantastic addition to any family or classroom library. It's written by our friend Rosalie Mass-Taylor. Join us right now from the beautiful city of San Diego in California. Our guest is here today to celebrate her middle grade novel. It's called Make a Move, Sunny Park. Please welcome to the show, Jessica Kim. Hey, Jessica, how are you?
Woo! Thank you so much for having me. I'm so super excited to tell you all about my new book. Thanks for having me.
You are welcome. I'm wicked, as we say here in Boston, I'm wicked excited for you to tell us all about it. Who's Sunny Park, and why would we be interested in what she's doing?
Oh, so my main character, Sunny Park, she's my 12-year-old main character. She's Korean American, and she actually lives right here in Southern California. But the thing about Sunny, what Sunny loves more than anything else, is she loves to dance. Hence the title, Make a Move. And at its heart, this is a friendship story about Sunny, who you could say she's a little socially anxious. She definitely struggles with making new friends and has a hard time putting herself out there. But she has this secret love of K-pop and dancing. And her best friend, Bailey Stern, who she's been, joined at the hip with since third grade, they decide to try out for the middle school dance team together. And things get a little interesting. Then Sunny gets on the team, but Bailey doesn't. And so it's kind of like a really fun adventure story that delves a lot into friendships, to toxic relationships, to being a people pleaser, but also it's super fun and lots of hijinks, humor, and adventure as Sunny kind of explores this new life without Bailey.
You know, that situation where one kid makes the team and the other kid doesn't, that is something that so many kids have to deal with and live through, and it is not easy at all.
Oh, it's brutal. It's brutal. In fact, like I have kids who are 10 and 13, so right in this range that I write for. And it's pretty much the first time in their lives where they're kind of being sorted a little bit. And it's not just in dance. My kids are softball players. It's which all-star team did you get on? Or if you're trying out for musical theater, who got the part and who didn't? And there's like a little bit of that sorting that happens with extracurriculars, whether it be by ability or by interest. I feel like kids used to just kind of be thrown into activities just to give it a try, and now they're kind of picking and choosing, what to pursue. And sometimes that happens among friends, and it can be pretty tricky.
It really is. And you bring up a couple of things. First, that sorting. I know there are a lot of parents out there who don't want them to keep score when they're playing soccer, and they want everybody to receive an award. Yeah, I mean, on paper, that's a nice idea, but the kids know who win, and the kids are sorting themselves at they know who is talented and who isn't quite as talented. And so, I'm sure that Sunny, while it was heartbreaking that her friend didn't make the team, Sunny probably knew in her heart that, she's probably not that good.
Oh, actually, Bailey's an outstanding dancer, and she didn't get on the team because Bailey is dealing with some pretty tough stuff in her family life. Actually, Bailey's parents split up, and mom's got a new boyfriend, and there's a lot going on with Bailey. And so she's not able to really put herself into her dance at the tryout as she normally would have, because she had a lot on her mind with this kind of bombshell news that she gets. So for whatever reason, who even knows? It's brutal out there. You got to try out. And if it's not your day, you don't get on the team, and the stakes are so high. And when you're 13 or 12, like that is a make or break sometimes for your friendship. And for someone like Sunny, who's always had this alpha personality, best friend who always kind of took care of her, took her under her wing. And, Sunny's kind of shy and uncertain, doesn't like trying new things. I mean, it's scary for her to kind of do this thing, and she's kind of pushed into this place to find out who she is without her, and surprisingly finds out there's a lot more to her, and there's a lot more to other friendships that she never really gave a chance. And so it's kind of a forced self-exploration in a way, and it turns out to be quite a bit of a crisis for the two of them.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned that your kids are this age, and I'm assuming that you were that age at one point in your life.
Yeah. Believe it or not.
Was there something that inspired this story?
Well, I really wanted to write about for those shy girls. I really wanted to write for that awkward girl, that shy girl, that girl who's always uncertain, and I wanted her to be the hero, the main character, because she's always the best friend or the sidekick. And so I wanted to write for people pleasers, because I think for someone like me, I grew up people pleasing and didn't even think it was such a bad thing. It was maybe a great quality because, and you facilitate so many, feelings, and you smooth things over between people, and that's kind of your role. But I think what happens sometimes with people pleasers is you don't know what you want. You don't know when to say no, or when to draw the boundary, or when to walk away when things get toxic. And so I've always kind of wished there was a story like that when I was growing up, of someone I could relate to, because I felt like back then, the main characters were always these spunky, courageous girls who were always doing these adventurous things, and that was never something I could fully relate to. So this is for my introspective, sensitive girl readers who want, or any reader really, to kind of find their courage and see that hugely heroic to be able to say no and to let people down sometimes, in order to do what's right for you.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a pretty good lesson for some parents to know too.
Oh, absolutely. This is something I struggle. This is a book. This book like nearly killed me. I wrote the other two very easily and joyfully, but this one, though it is a joyful book, took me 3 years to write. It was like so many drafts, so many versions, because I think I was so close to the main character that I kept defending her and I kept villainizing the best friend Bailey. And it wasn't really until the later drafts that I started to see, Sunny has a hand in this. Sunny is creating this environment by enabling and always going along with Bailey. And so Bailey has no idea that what Sunny's true feelings are, and so it was kind of healing for me too, to go on that journey as a creator, to see the ways in which we create these situations, even with our best intentions. All we want to do is make other people happy, but really it's not, your most authentic self that you're bringing to the friendship if you're begrudgingly doing things just so someone won't be mad at you. So, yeah.
How hard was that for you? I know this isn't an autobiography, but you just shared with us that some of Sunny is reflected in how you grew up, and you kind of had to deal with some of the things that you couldn't do when you were that age. How hard was that for you to write about?
Oh, well, first of all, these are all fiction, realistic fiction stories about, kids that are 8 to 12, but all of them are really autobiographies. Like every book is kind of its own slice of my life, of what I was feeling when I was writing those books. And though I'm not 12 and I'm not a K-pop dancer, absolutely all those feelings are very real and very true. And, it was difficult to kind of, go through it. I think I remember sending the first draft to my critique partner, and she read the first draft. I was kind of horrified at her first feedback was, I don't understand. Why doesn't Sunny just say no? And I was like, it's not it's not easy to say no. And I think I hadn't unpacked it, because for a lot of people it is easy, but I hadn't shown, the kind of overanalyzing that Sunny does, and what's at stake for her, and how bad it feels to not be, approved of, by her friend, and that outsized, influence that she has on her life. So it took a lot of mining for me to get there, to bring it to like a place that it could be published for anyone to read. But it was absolutely a long but also very eye-opening and rewarding journey to write this story.
Yeah. Do you feel that writing for this audience, when you look back, it's kind of, in a way, something that helps you deal with what happened to you in the past, and maybe heal some
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I think writing for me is so therapeutic in that way, because sometimes you didn't make that call. Sometimes you weren't brave in that moment when it really did happen to you. But in your story, you can kind of rewrite how you wished it had gone, or, how, you can kind of reinvent it and in a way find some closure that you never did in your real life. So yeah, I definitely think that writing is so powerful, not just in sharing the story, but in writing the story and creating the path that your character takes can be very healing.
Now, I want to take this opportunity. I'm almost 100 years old. My kids are older. My daughter's 27. My son is 30. I think they missed the whole K-pop thing. I know there's something called K-pop. I know there's a group called BT something, and they have to go to the army right now, so everybody's heartbroken.
Oh, you know a lot. Look at you.
But I mean, that's it. I don't talk a little bit about this phenomenon that's taken over so many young people's attention.
I gotta tell you that I am just as bewildered as you, because when I was growing up in the 80s and 90s, K-pop was not a thing that people knew outside of Korea, and it was definitely not cool, and none of our food was known to the outside world. And now my kids are growing up in a completely different time. They're so proud of being Korean, and everyone's always asking them questions about things, and they're like little cultural ambassadors, and they're not at all embarrassed of their lunch the way I was. And so it's quite funny. So my main character, Sunny, is kind of like my kids. She's a third generation Korean American, meaning her parents, like me, were born and raised in America. But she's, phenotypically or genetically 100% Korean, though culturally, much more American. And, what I love about the story, there's a character who Sunny really, draws a lot of strength from, and it's her grandmother. So her grandmother was an immigrant grandmother who came over, in the 70s, modeled after my mom, and they kind of have this point of connection through K-pop. And so grandma's a dancer, Sunny is a dancer, they, overlap in that way where they, watch these videos and they do these little dances together. They're part of this fandom. And that's kind of where she accesses a lot of her culture and heritage through her grandmother and through K-pop. And I thought that was really fun and cool. My kids don't speak Korean, but through K-pop, they're able to, learn a lot and read the subtitles and watch all the videos and draw a lot of belonging and culture through that. So I thought that was kind of like a cool hobby to give Sunny. And my daughters and I are big BTS fans. We're part of the ARMY, which is a fan group. And we went to the concert together, and it was such a cool thing to experience together. And they've kind of grown out of it now. But I love that it was such a mix of something fun, but also something cultural and something that belonged to, their motherland. And so.
And not that I'm familiar with the music at all, but I'm hearing so many parents take their kids to the K-pop concerts. Tell me if I'm wrong. I'm assuming that the music is more, I don't know if wholesome is the word, than a lot of music that we hear on in pop radio right now.
Well, it's definitely. Well, I don't know that I would say it's more wholesome. It's a different cultural standard, so maybe. No, I would say some of the Blackpink stuff is pretty racy too. Okay. I don't know. I don't know that I agree with that, but it's definitely something you could enjoy as a family. It's not, anything. Yeah, but to make that blanket statement might be a bit far. Yeah.
Well,
I would just say.
Yeah. I'm trying to learn, and I know one of the things that I love to do with my kids was to go to concerts and enjoy music with them, and yes. It's really wonderful when we can find music where we can feel good about sitting and listening with your daughter, and it's like,
absolutely, yeah.
So this is your sophomore, it's a companion to your first novel. Tell us a little bit about the first novel, please.
Oh, okay. So I wrote Stand Up Yumi Chung, and it's my debut novel. It came out in 2020. Oh my gosh, Yumi's 3 years old already. This was very much a story of my heart. It's about an 11-year-old girl who dreams of being a stand-up comedian against her immigrant parents' wishes. It takes place in Koreatown, Los Angeles, where my grandmother lived, and I spent some time living as a young adult. So it's very much like the setting is a character in the story, and it kind of is one of those double life stories where Yumi, also a very shy and awkward girl, kind of stumbles into this comedy camp taught by her YouTube idol, Jasmine Jasper, and she's mistaken for a camper, and she's too nervous to correct her, and so she accidentally steals her identity, this camper Kei Nakamura, and she takes on this persona, and it becomes the comedian she's always wanted to be under her name, and all the while trying to study for the scholarship exam that her parents have put on her so she can continue going to her fancy private school in Los Angeles. So it's a really fun book. You're just cringing the whole time, and it's a lot of hijinks also, but a lot of heart. At its heart, it's a family story, and it's a lot about the immigration experience and about what it feels like to be a child of an immigrant, and what do you do when you have one foot in Korea, one foot in America, and you feel like you don't quite belong in either, and your parents don't understand you. And so it's very much coming of age, all the awkwardness of what it's like to be 11. So it's a fun one.
Well, it sounds like both books are fantastic for kids of Korean descent to see themselves represented in the pages of a really fun book and represented positively. But it also sounds like a great book for kids who aren't Korean to be able to.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Well, it's so funny actually to receive fan mail from readers and hear of all the ways they connected to my characters, because it's not what I would have expected. I expected my Korean American readers to really find themselves, but I get the same amount of passion from like, oh dear Jessica Kim, my mom is a dance mom and she is exactly like Yumi's mom, and I totally understand the pressure she's under, or like the other one who this one kid wrote to me in the middle of class. I was like, oh no, I am writing you this email in the middle of class to tell you I just finished your book, and, hashtag shy girl problems, and she's like, I've never related to a character more because I'm a shy girl and Yumi's a shy, and it was just like, so cool to see the way kids connect, because it's not the way that you would think. And, I had an interesting experience. Actually, when I was promoting this book, my first book, I was at, like an indie bookstore, gathering of sorts, and we're giving away advanced readers to different librarians and booksellers and book people who were, at this like little convention. And, they were free. These books were free. They were advanced readers. There's no charge. And we were just giving away signed copies to people, as a way to build buzz for our upcoming books. And I'll never forget this heartbreaking moment where a librarian, because I was sharing a table with another author, and she came to, pick up the book from the person sitting next to me. And I tried to offer her mine, like, oh, would you like one? And she said to me, actually, no, thank you. We don't have Asian kids at our school. And it took me a moment. I think it took like the breath out of me, because I couldn't believe the audacity of that response, or like the reasoning of it at all. Like, oh, do you have pirates and witches at your school? Do you have bears? Do you have trains? Because I'm sure you have books about those characters, and I'm sure your kids related to them just fine. It's interesting. It's not the kids. It's a lot of the gatekeepers who tend to look at a book and judge it literally by its cover, right? And it's, as an Asian American creator, I was very adamant, when, I signed my first book deal. I said, I really want her name to be on the cover. I want Yumi Chung, because I want my kids to find this. I want them to see the title, to see the cover, and know it's for them, and I want it to be very recognizable and discoverable. Mm-hmm. But the flip side of that is, some people might assume that this book is for a particular group and only that group. And I thought that was, a surprise, especially in 2023. But nonetheless, I've been so overwhelmed with how many kids have connected with it and how well it's selling. I'm so thankful to all the booksellers and librarians who are pushing it. The teachers are huge backers of this book, so I hope they do the same with my next.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Well, I love the fact that books can be a mirror and let kids see themselves in the pages of books. But I'm of the belief that books being windows, allowing kids to see others, it's just as important, if not more important.
Absolutely.
To see, so that we can open up, so those sliding glass doors can open up, and we can come together. And here in the United States, we can come together and be Americans, or just in the world, we can all understand that we are all part of this beautiful human family.
Absolutely. I love that about books, and I love that about my readers, like just learning something new, about a different culture, or feeling a connection that they didn't think they would feel to somebody of a completely different culture. I think all those things are so powerful, especially when you're young.
Yeah. Well, I need to learn where we can go to find out more about you and find out more about Make a Move Sunny Park.
I am at JessKimWrites.com for my personal website. I am a former educator and I am so terribly fond of the classroom and kids. So I do lots of school visits. So, educators can find me there for my booking information. And I'm also at Jess Kim Writes on, Twitter and Instagram, where I post lots of fun little tidbits about the writing process or about what I'm doing to promote my book. So all events will be there.
We've had a great time speaking to the author of Make a Move, Sunny Park, brand new middle grade novel from our guest, Jessica Kim. Hey, Jess, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you so much, Jed. It was such a pleasure.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast and will join us for the next exciting episode. If you want to make sure you don't miss a second of the show, please be sure to subscribe to the show on the iHeartRadio app, on Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Stitch Radio, wherever you get your podcasts. And also be sure to visit readingwithyourkids.com and download your copy of the Reading With Your Kids online magazine. It's free. It's available at readingwithyourkids.com. Just click on our blog. Before we go, I want to make sure that I give a big thank you to my team: Fatima Khan, Rory Grady, Madison Dairies, Soji Franklin, Monica Rivera Sosa, Ann O'Leary. I want to give a big thank you to my beautiful wife for all the support she gives me, and most of all, we all want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today, and as always, thank you so very much for taking the time to make the world a better place by reading with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast.